one of the things that we try to do, whether it's to the kid directly or to the parent, is let them know, like, hey, this is a potential future for them.
Welcome to the Satori Lifestyle Satori Masters podcast, the ultimate resource for ambitious, hardworking school owners that want to get their business and their life to the next level. My name is Dave Kovar. I'm a lifetime martial artist, business owner, speaker, and author. My goal is to empower listeners with the knowledge and the tools they need to break through barriers and really get their business and their life to the next level. Thanks for watching and enjoy. Welcome to the Satori Lifestyle Satori Masters podcast. I'm your host, Dave Kovar, and with me today is my good friend, Chris Herman. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, sir. How are you today?
All right. Well, thanks for being on the show. So I was just telling Chris before we started here that I've been meaning to have him on for a long time, and I gave him literally like a half-hour notice because I meant to reach anyway. But so he was willing to adjust his schedule to be on the line. And Chris has a chain of schools in the Seattle area, and we've known each other for 15, 20 years-ish going on probably. What's the first time you showed up to a ProMac? What year was it?
It was probably just about 20 years ago.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, when you had the separate location for the ProMac conferences, and they were bi-monthly at the time, and made the trip down to the first one and just came home and told my wife, I got to figure out how to get back. I got to make this happen as a regular thing, and been coming down ever since.
Yeah, I remember you were a guest of our good friend Rocky A. Build. Yeah, and that was we moved from that building in 2006, I think. So that's how, maybe 2007. So that's how long it's been since, and you were there before that. So a long time. Well, that's awesome, man.
Yes, sir.
So what I wanted to do, I appreciate you being on the line. I think you are one of those guys that runs, I haven't seen you on the cover of any martial arts business magazines, but you certainly could be. You're kind of a quiet giant, just kind of doing your thing, running these really, highly successful schools, good quality student body, profitable, great spirit within the community. I've been to your place, 10, 15 times over the years, something like that, and always impressed with what your product is. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to first off, give me a quick, I know you grew up in a gymnastics studio, so this is kind of in your blood to a certain degree, but kind of walk us through how you got involved and open up your first school in the beginning.
Yes, sir. So I actually got inspired to do karate by the original Karate Kid film when I was in middle school. I did a 8-week course at our local rec center that was put on by one of the local karate schools. And at the end of the course, I said, Mom, Dad, I want to do karate. And they said, okay, what do you want to give up? Because I was a competitive gymnast growing up in a gymnastics school and a competitive soccer player. And I didn't want to give up either one of those. So I put my martial arts career on hold until I got to college and started training at Syracuse University as a freshman. And, knew I was home. Like this was going to be something I was going to do for the rest of my life. And moved out to Seattle in 2001 with my instructor's blessing from the East Coast, and started teaching at a community center because there weren't any Kenpo schools out here at the time that I could find and join and just become an instructor. And so I started something and had some really great students and families that joined in the beginning, and just helped the school grow from a community center program into a full-time dojo.
Well, did you have a day job when you were first at the community center?
I did. I was working as a freelance designer. I went to school for graphic design and was working professionally for a few years in Boston doing that, and made a decision that I wanted to learn how to teach martial arts. And so kind of did an apprenticeship with my instructor, Brian McDonald, back east. And when I came out here, I made a choice to teach at a community center and just work part-time as a freelance designer, and was actually working in a restaurant, a microbrewery out here in Seattle. And between those two things, through the community center program, and saved up the funds to open my first location.
So you basically, when you moved to Seattle, was it due to your wife's career? Is that why you relocated, or did you specifically go there because you wanted to open up a martial arts school there?
We both liked the area,
okay,
and we're living on the East Coast, and decided that we wanted to give the West Coast a try. And Seattle specifically was a spot that we both liked, and decided to roll the dice, and it's worked out pretty well for us. We've been here for 20 plus years now.
Amazing, amazing. So what I'd really like to focus on is like, to you now. You guys have you have 3 locations.
Sure.
and you have grown slow and steady through the years. So what are the key metrics that you kind of look at? Like what's most important for you? Where do you put your time?
I think the thing that we've kind of always prided ourselves on is retention, and so we don't have a ton of new students coming in the door each month, but we do a pretty good job of keeping them in the school long term, and so that journey from white belt to black belt and beyond. And so yeah, typically, other than COVID, have kept roughly a 3% quit rate, and have worked really hard to maintain that across all three locations.
So that's incredible. And if you guys aren't sure what your quit rate is, it's probably way higher than 3% because that's really impressive. I know as a company, our goal is always to get to 3%. We've rarely as a company been at 3%. We've had some locations that have been below that, but overall, I think this year we're in the high threes actually, which is still respectable. But man, keeping it 3% is impressive. So beyond, because everybody, you and I know, man, school owners think, I keep students once they enroll. Don't tell me about that. Just tell me how to get new members. And we know that, that's not necessarily the case. So beyond teaching great classes, give me two or three things that go into having really good retention.
Well, yeah, obviously the first thing is teaching great classes. I think the second part of it is caring about the students and them knowing that we're invested in their success on and off the mat. Um, and then I think also creating a vision so that they know that, from whatever age they join as a white belt, where their path at Alpha Martial Arts can take them if they choose to stick with it, and providing opportunities for people to stay involved in the school long term.
So let's talk about how do you create a vision? What does that mean exactly? Give me a step, okay? We know get them thinking long term, but what does that mean? And how? Give me some processes that someone could put into place in their school to make that happen.
Well, I think one thing that we do consciously with the multiple locations is try to have a few events a year where all three dojos are coming together to participate in something as a community. And one of the things that we implemented probably more than a decade ago, but I wish we'd done it sooner, was a school picnic. And so just at the end of the summer, we have a potluck picnic and a fun outdoor class in the park, and it brings students together to train, and then B, to share food and conversation. And it's outside of the dojo, so it's less formal. And parents are bringing blankets and lawn chairs and potato salad, and we're all just kind of hanging out and spending time together in summer in Seattle. It's usually beautiful weather at that time of year, and yeah, that kind of conversation and community, I think, goes a long ways to creating a vision. And because the class has all belt levels from our little dragons all the way up through adult black belts all training together, I think that creates a vision of where students can go.
Love it. So what you kind of touched on is it's important for people to understand that we don't quit relationships, or they're harder to quit relationships than it is activities. And the more you can have your students connected and bonded to the school, the better off you are. And having events like that go a long ways there. So give me an example of a system within the school. Like, for example, when are you talking to me about my son just enrolled in your program? Give me some steps along the way that you're planting seeds for long-term training. What kind of things are happening? Let's assume the classes are rocking. My son's having a great time, but we know he's not always going to want to come to class. How are you preparing me as a parent for kind of the journey ahead? So when those rocky spots come along, they're going to be my son and I are going to be ready for it.
Well, I think one of the things is, happening on their introductory lesson or their school tour. So the very first time they come into the school and we're showing them around, we try to make a point of highlighting the instructors that are on the mat and just mentioning their journey. And so one of my head instructors at our main location started training with me when he was 8 years old. He's 29 now, just a rock star martial artist and instructor. And so sometimes we'll point out, like, hey, that's Mr. Michael. He's going to be one of your head instructors. He actually started with me when he was 8 years old. How are you? 8? How old are you? 8? Yeah. So, if you
Yeah,
stick with
love it.
it, you could be like Mr. Michael. Or sometimes we'll point to an assistant instructor who's maybe a high school student and talk about how they started, at age whatever, maybe as a little dragon, or even a leadership team member that's assisting on the mat. And we go, that's not actually an instructor. That's somebody who is part of our leadership program, and they're helping out in class, and they're on the path to be a future instructor. So trying to create a vision, even in that first visit, about if they stick with it, this is, sort of the type of person they could become.
Very cool. Now I know you're very invested in your demo team, and I saw them perform practice for their performance last time I was up there, and they looked rock solid. How does that play into this? There's a bunch of different things that I can think of, but how does having a demo team help with retention?
Yeah, I think the demo team, most of the credit for the demo team goes to my team, because not myself personally, but my instructor team that has taken an interest in the demo team over the years, and it just keeps leveling up and leveling up. And so for the younger kids coming up in the school, they see the demo team members and are inspired by them to not just maybe make the team one day, but to become a better martial artist. It sort of shows them
So
what
do you
they're
have them
capable of.
perform at a belt promotion?
They perform, yeah, all over the place. So that summer picnic, the demo team will perform
Right.
at the summer picnic. We haven't performed before birthday parties because of what the practices are scheduled and our birthday party time is scheduled.
Right.
Um, so yeah, they're looking for every opportunity to
Every
perform.
opportunity.
And
But I tell you why that's so important, because here you are. So first off, I show up with my son who just enrolled, and I show up at the picnic or at the belt promotion, and then I see the demo team perform. And my son is inspired, but guess what? I am too, because I want my kid to be that good. So there's so many different levels. And of course, we know what the effect it is for actual the demo team members as well. I mean, it's amazing retention. They're on this team, and the bond is pretty strong. As you know, our red and black attack has been together for like almost 30 years now, something like that. And I'd like to take full credit for all their skills,
yes, sir.
but I'd be lying through my teeth. I have no idea what they do. It's way out of my pay grade. The amazing team, but a big chunk of this is the fact that they get together every week and have been forever, and they just train together. And this is their bond that keeps them, involved, and such a powerful thing. Okay, so I'm going to switch gears now, because what I think that you do as good as anybody I know is that I'm always amazed by how many people are surprised when that instructor who has started helping us out when he's 15, all of a sudden he's a senior in high school, he or she, and they got accepted to university on the other side of the country, and we lose them as instructor. And we go, oh, darn it, and it's kind of like, how many times have I been surprised by that when we should have seen it coming, because that's the circle of life. And I think one of the things that you've done really well, it seems to me from my perspective, that you kind of look at this kind of like a high school football coach might look at their team. They know they don't have them forever. Of course, we know there's going to be some people after high school are going to stick around, but so many of us are going to get that person, that's this rock star 18-year-old, and then they move on. And so what you have seemed to have done is done a great job of having that person mentor the next generation. So why don't you talk us through kind of that process, how you go about doing that?
Sure. And thank you. I think the two things kind of relate. Our demo team and our leadership teams sort of work in parallel as paths for the teenagers, the younger teenagers, kind of beyond black belt. And so there'll be overlap sometimes, but having that demo team path for the kids who are the martial arts athletes who like to perform and want to be part of that team, but then also having this leadership path for the kids who maybe want to contribute in a different way, where they enjoy helping the newer students or the younger students. And so, our leadership program, we started at Orange Belt, which for us is about a year in, intermediate level, where kids have the option to participate just in a monthly workshop, and taking different leadership concepts from Coach John Wooden to Carol Dweck, and incorporating that into a monthly leadership workshop. So they're just getting exposed to some leadership philosophy, and then we work on martial arts teaching techniques and skills, a lot of which is taken from the instructor boot camps and things that I've done with you over the years. And then training, like martial arts training. And so, one of my favorite quotes of yours is, the best instructor training is instructors training. So we try to
Yes,
make
sir.
sure that those leadership kids are getting on the mat. And so at an early age, they are involved with that. And then a little later, maybe they start helping out in a class. But really, by the time they're a 12, 13, 14-year-old junior black belt, that's when we want them to actively be helping out in class just one day a week, or at special events like a parents' night out or a birthday party, and to start getting some time on the mat so that they can have a practical application of those leadership and teaching skills. And then our younger instructors that are paid staff members, so now those 16, 17, 18-year-old high school kids are local college students who are maybe still teaching at the school, and then our full-time staff, there's kind of this progression where they're all kind of responsible for helping to bring up the person that's underneath them. And so that 12 or 13-year-old junior black belt is learning from that 16, 17-year-old black belt instructor who's learning from that, adult full-time instructor. And so I think the analogy that you said of a high school football team is, pretty insightful and pretty accurate in terms of how I try to approach developing, the next level each year so that we have a strong team, year after year.
Yeah, it's kind of like, because what we forget, and how many times, yeah, we've certainly had this happen on our in our schools, but not as much anymore because we're more aware of it. But how many times have I coached some guy that says, I had this amazing instructor and they just left to go away to school? And now they're starting from scratch. They have no one, or very few people in the waiting in the wings. And so one of the things, and you've heard this quote many times, is when it comes to staff, developing your staff, is plant seeds early and often. Cast a really broad net, because you all know, how many times have I heard someone say, "Oh, I've got this one 15-year-old. They're going to be amazing. They're going to take over the school someday." And someone puts all their eggs in this one basket that looks so promising, and then, this gal, she falls in love with someone and moves to Florida and they're gone, right? I mean, that's literally happened so many times. So what are you doing? So are you casting a broad net, I guess, is the question.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we look for in class, we look for the students, doesn't matter what belt level or what age level they are, but we look for how they interact with their training partners in class, or how they interact with other students just in the lobby or in the hallways, or in any of those encounters. Like, who are the students who are being helpful, right? And who are encouraging their classmates, who, are trying to bring out the best in others. And we, kind of, target them in a good way to join the leadership program. And so it might be as simple as saying, they might be a brand new white belt. So we might say, hey, you're going to be an awesome instructor someday. Or they might be an orange belt or higher, where we can actually, invite them to join the monthly leadership workshop. Like, hey, I think you'd be a great instructor in the future. Or, hey, I think you have a lot of potential as a leader. You should come join my monthly leadership workshop this month. It's going to be on, X date and time. And then kind of, not harassing them, but, following up with them on a semi-regular basis and trying to, give them that little nudge to try it and to participate. And then if, if they do sort of rise to our expectations, if we're able to help guide them in that direction, then, we just keep moving them to the next step along that leadership path.
So, you remind me of a quote: I'm not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am. I am who I think you think I am. What that means is, my teacher thinks I can do it. I guess I can do it. When you say to that, hey, I think you'd make an excellent teacher, someday, man, I didn't know that about myself. And you telling me that, I like and respect you, that goes a long ways, man. I mean, that goes a long ways to planting that seed. I think it's just super important. And the other thing that, I don't know about you, I'm sure this has happened. How many times have I had that talk with a 12-year-old, brown belt or junior black belt or something, and said, hey, what are you going to do when you get a little older? What are you going to do for work? And they almost always say, oh, McDonald's, or something like that. And I go, I tell you, I think you'd make a pretty good instructor someday. What you need to do is, of course, keep coming to class on a regular basis, and we'll see where this goes. And then, only to have mom, what I see next week in the lobby, go, what did you tell my son? He's like super pumped. Is it true he could be a teacher? So, like, when you see someone's got the potential, we need to let them know about it, because they may not see it in themselves and they may not believe they're able to, but our belief in them can make an incredibly big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, one of the things that we try to do, whether it's, to the kid directly or to the parent, is let them know, like, hey, this is a potential future for them, right? And not long term, because, we have, I mean, you were talking about kids moving across the country. One of our demo team captains got into Columbia University and is a freshman at Columbia,
Darn
New York
him.
City this
Darn
year,
him. How dare he leave to go to Columbia? Man, what's up
right.
with that?
Like, so we're, you're never going to discourage a student from pursuing, that kind of
Of course.
opportunity. But like you said, knowing that they're going to be there, and he loved being a part of our team, all the way through high school, and was just home for Thanksgiving, and, joined an event that we had for black belts and alumni. And, that's the kind of connection that I want to maintain with our students, even after they're no longer part of the staff. And so I think that that's an important piece of it too, is that they know that they can join our team, and that it can be a win-win, right? Where it's going to be mutually beneficial, but that they're not, locked in long term where they can never do anything else. So we try to create a balance where they can be a part of our team and they can still have their lives outside of the
Sure.
dojo. And I think that's really important for the longevity.
Yeah, there's something that I've always meant to do and I've never done it. And I got the idea from Joyce Santa Maria, who runs a very successful school in Long Island, that a good friend of mine that's been in business for a really long time. Is she has kind of an open, uh, basically a policy for alumni over the holidays to Thanksgiving or Christmas or spring break to come and train. Just it's kind of like drop in, don't worry about any fees or anything like that. I think it makes complete sense to do that. Like if someone's going to be home for 3 months for the summer, there may need to be a charge, but because what it does, it keeps them involved in the school. And of course, how many times now you probably have a lot of second generation people coming into your school now. You've been doing this long enough to where, right? You
Getting
have,
close,
yeah,
getting close.
you're starting to. I'm sure you have a few. Like I just had last week. Um, a gentleman came in, Freddie Carino. Christian might remember him. He was on the demo team a million years ago. But I go into the lobby of our headquarters school, and I see this guy. He's in his late 30s, and he's got his two kids there for his first class. And he goes, "Hey, Mr. Kovar," and he looks familiar. That's all. I go, "Hey, I should put my hand out." I say, "It's good to see you," because I never say "nice to meet you" because I had that sense that he knew me. We knew each other. He goes, "Do you remember me, sir?" And I look and I go, he did look familiar. You look familiar. And he said it. He told me his name. I was like, "Of course, I remember you now." And his comment was, "This is the first time I've been in here in 18 years, and man, I'm just going down memory lane. I have chills right now. This is so cool." And I'm reminded about, it shouldn't have been 18 years. I should have been inviting him back over because he went away to school, when he was 18. I should have invited him back, somehow. That I think that could be a really powerful system to kind of keep that alumni strong.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've done better at that over the years, in some years than others. And so we've done like a holiday alumni party, like a black belt, social kind of thing outside of the dojo where we rented a place and it was great. And we got a lot of alumni black belts and staff to come in and just hang out and socialize. And we've done we call them rusty black belt workouts where
Yep,
we
yep.
invite old black belts to come in and just do an hour long class that's friendly and fun. Um, and then we've tried to have that kind of open door policy during the holidays as well, where we're encouraging the students to come back and train during Thanksgiving or Christmas or spring breaks. And then the other thing that we've done with the younger guys that I think works pretty well is they know when they leave our team in high school, but they go away to college, that if they're looking for a part-time job over the summer, that there's an opportunity to come back and work for us, whether it's regular classes or work in summer camps. And so just trying to let them know that there's still opportunities for them to come back and train and that the door is always open for them no matter when they left, that we're always going to be there for them.
I love it, man. Well, I want to be respectful of your time, but I have a couple more questions for you. So you've been doing
Sure.
this for a long time now. What keeps you involved? You still got passion for what you do. What gets you excited about running a martial arts school?
I think the biggest thing that I've sort of found over the years is I just love teaching. And so and I don't have to be teaching full time. Like when I first, had the community center program or I first opened the dojo and I was teaching all the classes every day. That was great, but I'm at a different point in my life and with multiple locations and developing a team. At one point, I was putting so much effort on letting the team teach and be on the floor that I was just on the back end. And I found a really good balance now where I'm teaching a couple classes a week. I'm doing staff development, staff training, I'm doing my own personal martial arts training. So I'm continuing to, be a student, and then having time to do the back end stuff. And that balance has been really important to me as far as, enjoying the process and enjoying the journey, that I'm not doing all just the business or I'm not doing all just the teaching. I'm not just doing my own personal training, but mixing those three together, and then having time for family and friends also. That balance has been really a key to me in terms of maintaining my passion for martial arts over the years.
I love it. Like martial arts first, teaching second, business third. A great way to look at this, right? All super
Yes,
important,
sir.
but your priorities are very clear. Last thing, let's just say, man, I've been running a school for a decade. I haven't been able to come back from COVID. It just kicked my butt. I'm having a really hard time. I'm feeling a little disillusioned. I'm not sure, what it is that I should be doing going forward. Give me a few tips. Point me in the right direction.
Well, I think one of the things that I've heard from you over the years that I think is super empowering is believing that things can get better.
Mhm.
And one of the sort of thought exercises that you've had us do in the past is, can I make things worse? Right. So, like, is there something I could do to make this situation worse? And the answer is almost always yes. And so then looking at the flip side of, okay, well, what could I do to make this situation better? And then I think taking action on that. And so it might be as simple as, I'm going to go out and whatever class I have to teach next, my next class I have to teach, I'm going to make this the best class that it can be. And, just that single action item of putting your, spirit and energy into that next thing, that next class, I think makes a huge difference, for not just the students that are in that class where they're going to hopefully walk away from that being like, wow, that class was amazing. Right. But also just for you personally, right. Taking action on something that you can control. And, and that can extend into, okay, well, I could, maybe I could do something that would make a student quit, right? That would be the negative. So what's the positive? I could do something that would either make a student stay or maybe that would help me get a new student. And so take action on that as well. And I think that those two things, teach great classes and then look for how you can either retain a student or maybe gain a new student, and then believing that, things can and will get better.
Great advice. Great advice. I don't know. I can't tell you. I remember one time when one of our darkest hours, when we were really having some challenges, we had a black belt seminar work, and I remember showing up and I was feeling hypocritical, like, man, we're having a business is really, we're really challenged right now. Did I pick the right career? And having this seminar for black belts, and I put my spirit in. It was a 2-hour class, and I had a great time. Everybody had a great time. When I got done with class, it was like, yes. This is what I'm supposed to be doing, right? And so wherever you are in your process, what gets you going is momentum. So having one really good productive day, all we need to do is get moving in the right direction. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
If we're getting better, if we're a little better, that's because if you're struggling, you're not going to go from struggling to super successful overnight. It's not going to happen. It's this, but as long as you are getting better, and that's, focusing on processes, man, that'll make all the difference in the world. Well, I appreciate you being on the podcast with me. If someone wanted to get a hold of you, what would your email be?
So just Chris at alphamartialarts.com.
All right. And what Alpha Martial Arts, what's your website?
Yeah, alphamartialarts.com. And we're here in Seattle. If anybody's coming through town, happy to spend some time with you, on the mat or at a coffee house or just chatting. Anything I can do to help, more than happy to.
I love it, man. Well, I appreciate your friendship. Appreciate you being on the call, and have an incredibly great day, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate you. Have a great day, sir.
Take care. Thank you for tuning in today to our podcast. I hope you found it valuable and inspirational. To stay connected, please subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you go for your podcasts. If you enjoyed today's show, please give us a 5-star review. And we really sincerely would appreciate some feedback. Your feedback helps us to create high-quality content that will help others in the future. If you'd like to follow me, you can go to Dave Kovar on Facebook or Haunchie Dave Kovar on Instagram. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on next episode.